Hello and welcome to the Esports Meta. I forgot where I was for a second. Welcome to the Esports Meta. My name is Billy. I am excited. We've got a lot of topics to cover. There's a lot of things scrambling around in my brain today. I'm really excited to be here. Hopefully you are as well. Thanks for joining us this fine Tuesday. And we're going to be going over some pretty big stories. So we're just going to jump right into it. You can expect us talking about snap tapping. What is it? Why is it the new it thing in competitive gaming? We're also going to be going over some ban percentages and rates from the Overwatch EWC tournament. We've got the numbers and it's pretty interesting. So stick around to take a look at that. And then surprisingly, Shroud's new game. What is it? What's going on? It was just revealed this week and everybody's talking about it. So we're going to get talking about it as well. And to talk about it, I need a friend to do that. And of no other person, the better to do it with me than Nicholas Layton. Nick, how you doing today?
Chilling, bro. Having a good day.
Great, dude. Great. It's quite the Tuesday. A lot going on. I got to turn off my air conditioner because we got a lot of noise, but we're going to cut through that noise and get right into the episode stuff today. I'm not even going to ask you what you're excited about because I know you're excited about everything. But we're going to need to talk about the first thing that we're excited about, and that's the EWC Club Championship points. Quickly bringing this up, and we're going to have a leaderboard update. Surprise, surprise. Team Falcons is still at the top, but they haven't changed points. It's still 4,100 points in their first place position. Nick, I know you love it. What do you think?
As expected, working as intended. There we go. That's gonna be my slogan for this one. The whole entire episode, I will be referencing working as intended the whole time. So working as intended, Team Falcons
working as
first place.
intended. All right, but in a little bit of a twist and a little bit of a surprise, T1 in second, Team Liquid dropping down to third. T1, I believe, took home some bronze or silver this past weekend, or was it gold? We'll take a look at that in just a moment, but they're up to 1,600 points in this sub-competition of the EWC.
No, they're doing great, man. I'm just happy that Team Liquid isn't in fourth or below place. They're staying strong in, the third or second spot. So we'll see. They got a lot more games.
Yeah, they do. They certainly do. And a lot more to bump them up into second place. T1 may or may not be able to hold them off, but I don't think T1 has as many games played. I think they're only playing in the Riot games. And I think Teamfight Tactics is where they found that success for. But, I'm rooting for you, man. You got some money on Team Liquid. We got to see them come out into second place.
Yeah, it's the only merch that I buy, so I have to. I have to have them win, right?
True ride or die. True ride or die. All right. So that's pretty much just straightforward. The EWC Club Champion Point update that we've been talking about this past couple weeks. We're also going to be recapping the last week of EWC, in which case we saw Teamfight Tactics play, we saw Street Fighter 6 tournament happen, and we also saw Fortnite competition happen. Nick, do you have a chance to catch any of those games this past week?
I watched a little bit of Fortnite, man, but Fortnite's getting out of hand, to be honest. Every single week, it's like a new IP joining that game, and reminds me of that Family Guy mobile game where every single thing on Fox or every Family Guy game is in it. Just it's like Cartoon Network at this point, bro. They should have a partnership.
Dude, right. And it's almost a little bit like Smash Bros, where it's a coalescing of worlds, but it's not as fluid as that. I know they did just announce the Marvel and Doctor Doom collaboration, and I know that's a lot, also a big complaint of players. There seems to be so much going on, and everything is just so all over the place at times. But this tournament ended up being pretty solid, pretty straightforward. Just to kind of recap what the format looked like, it was a 3-phase situation tournament. We had 8 groups of 4 players in phase 1, where the top 2 were getting advanced. From that, they went into a second group of round robins, whereas 4 groups of 4, and again, top 2 advanced. Then the remaining players, not the remaining ones, the ones who were not eliminated, brought us to the third phase. It was single elimination bracket, where you finally got the tournament style of things. That was generally the format, what to expect. And it was, I think you kind of nailed it in a different way, Nick. It was so much Fortnite. There was just so much Fortnite. It was Fortnite on top of Fortnite. You had Fortnite in Fortnite doing Fortnite.
Fortnite's a lot, man. That's like it's very dense in sugar, you know what I'm saying? Like you're just gonna have a tummy ache if you have too much.
And I think that might be what they're going for. But I don't know if this guy had a tummy ache because first place, Zhai Hao, $300,000. Big congratulations there with KSG taking up the gold. But that look on his face, man, it's one of elation, it's one of joy, and maybe relief, but maybe that's also that tummy ache you're talking about.
Oh, dude, I can't imagine the stress where you got to go through the 3 rounds in a battle royale. That's rough. Like you get through the first one, and you're like, all right, just 2 more to go. That sucks. I can only imagine. It's just like pure relief on his face right now. Like, thank God. Like he might not even play Fortnite for a month.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's wild, man. And like big props to these guys in the team to that competed. Bringing us home. The overall standings, Zhai Hao, 300,000 first place with KSG, 1,000 club points to them. Kawano, second place. Gachikun in third place. And Takikawa. You know, this is a little bit of a addiction course for me, like saying these on the fly. I should have prepped and learned how to say these, but I think I'm not doing too bad. Tachikawa.
And say the first place again.
Zhai Hao. Zio How?
No, you should hit those
okay. Well, if you know what the true pronunciation is, let us know in the comments. Let us know in chat. Zhao Hai.
Zhao Hai. That's the way that I would think it would be. But I'm not, bro. Like, but I definitely know that there's no O at the end of that. But yeah, I think let's just have more fun with it. Good job, Billy. Hikaru is there.
Hikaru is there, yeah.
What is that, light? Is light in Japanese?
Taking away $45,000 in the prize pool and 60 club championship points for that team. Pretty straightforward with this one. We really don't need to dive deeper. If you're a fan of Fortnite, you already know what's going on. Check out the VODs. And like Nick said, if you like Fortnite, you're already in Fortnite, but too much Fortnite might give you that stomach ache. So, Fortnite in moderation.
I mean, I like playing Fortnite in moderation. It's always good. Solid game.
Yeah.
All right, let's move. let's move.
I know.
On.
I'm pausing. I am pausing a second because I think I messed up and we need to start again. Because I think we were looking at mistakenly. I think I was looking at the Street Fighter stuff. So we're gonna scratch that and just kind of. Oh my God, man! I am so confused right now. There's so much in my brain. There's so much going on here. With. Yeah, man. Okay. We're going to scratch that. It was Street Fighter. We didn't talk about Fortnite. Hi, welcome to the Esports Meta. My name is Billy, and I'm a F up, but it's that kind of Tuesday. Doing what we can to get through on this one. Just a lot trying to can't even say words. Just a lot trying to blah, blah, blah. Anyway, here we go. Talking about Street Fighter 6 at EWC. It was a pretty straightforward tournament. We had, an overall standings of Zhai Hao taking away $300,000 for third place. Kawano, Guchikun, and Tachikawa in fourth place. Man, I'm just, oh man. I'm just so elated about this, dude. I'm just so elated because it was a big game and big situation. And yeah. Save me, Nick. It's your fault. Right. Save me.
No, it's always my fault when you fall into some poop, right? All right. So let's, how about we correct it and we just do a Street Fighter?
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, man. You're not wrong. Okay. So we're going to be talking about Street Fighter, and we're going to break it down first in the format. And the format was pretty straightforward. You had 3 phases. Phase 1 was 8 groups of 4 players where they did round robin. The top 2 players advanced to the next phase from each group. Then in the second phase, it was 4 groups of 4 players, and with a double elimination bracket that were first to 3, and the top 2 moved on to the final bracket, third phase. Single elimination in the third phase, and a first to 5 tournament style, and that's the structure of what this tournament was. We ultimately saw coming to the forefront, just to switch screens real quick. First place is Jai Hao, $300,000 right there. This is, sometimes say third time's a charm. Kawano, second place, $140,000. And Gachi-kun taking us to third place, tied with Tachikawa. Nick, did you have a chance to catch any of the Street Fighter?
I did. I was really just like interested to see how this kind of like goes into a little bit what we were talking. I just wanted to see how often people were using like the controller, the hitbox basically versus like regular fight sticks and stuff like that, because of the fact that this is like one of the games that actually changed the way the game is playing because of the inputs. Man, I'm saying a lot. No, so this is one of the few games, especially competitively, that actually has seen a change in the way the game overall functions, how you do certain moves, and what you're capable of on controller because of hitbox happening. So it was pretty interesting to see, and you can see like the fight sticks and stuff right there. Not a lot of people having, hitboxes.
Right, and like. We've talked about how hitbox has fundamentally changed fighting games, and now developers have to adapt to incorporate the same capability and capacity of those controllers into other controllers, which you're saying is what Street Fighter has been able to do. Right there, we saw 2 players running regular sticks, not the hitbox, right? So it'd be interesting as we go into a bit further.
That's a hitbox right there.
On the right, correct, yeah. Yep. It'll be interesting as we go into snap tapping, what that is and how that's the next advancement for mouse and keyboard players, and how that's going to level up. And it has certain parallels to the hitbox, and does it give a fundamental advantage? Stick around if you're looking forward to that conversation. We'll have a lot more to talk about with that. But as far as Street Fighter goes, there's a lot here, and the nuance is always in the footsies, the metaphorical footsies as well as the literal footsies. Yeah. But if we go into it, there's a great article broken down by Dakota Dark Horse Hills from this past weekend, where they broke down stats and country representation in the EWC tournament for Street Fighter 6. First and foremost, the characters that were used, you saw Bison, Akuma, Ken, Ed, Luke, Rashid, AKI, Chun-Li, Guile, Blanca, JP, and Manon having representation in that. Bison being the most played in the top 16 for that. These stats end up being really huge because it can define the meta when it comes to, what's powerful, what's not. And sometimes that plays a part into, like you're saying, the hitbox, the controllers, and everything. When you zoom out to the top 32, it pretty much stays the same, except you saw more Cammy, you saw DJ, Jury, Zangief, as well as Ed having some numbers. But for the most part, reinforcing what you saw in the first part here. M. Bison taking the predominant lead, where 5 players in the top 32 were playing Bison. Nick, are you familiar with just the sort of power levels and the power rankings with Street Fighter 6 currently?
Not for current Street Fighter 6, just because this game is patched, and they always have like new characters coming out and stuff. There is like usually like a funny thing when like Ryu isn't like decent. Usually the game's in like a weird spot in like the past, but who knows? Like that could be like a little wrong about that with like this. But Ken's there. Like as long as Ken or Ryu are on the tier list, and it looks like they have a pretty clear, clearly defined meta going into the World Cup just in general.
Yeah, there's not a lot of shakeups, but I know Street Fighter 6 has been infamous. The developers have been infamous for being a little wishy-washy when it comes to their patch notes, being a little I'm trying to put this politely, but just generally uncertain of how to control their game, how to steer their game with the control, of the patch notes. And players have vocalized a lot of complaints when it comes to stuff like that. where, you know, some characters being overpowered and they don't see it, they kind of buffed around it. You know, I don't think any game has a perfect patch cadence of balance, but at the same regards, like I know that Capcom and Street Fighter 6 struggles where the player base is like visibly upset. And I don't think it totally showed here because of the world population that was competing here. I think they kind of just take to the meta and then they just play the best thing that possibly can to get them the gold. And it seems the case here. M. Bison, best thing you could play because you had 5 people trying to play it.
That's right. Bison just like wrecking it. But I mean, you know, like Akuma's up there and stuff like that. Games, you know, people are allowed to be upset about not having like proper patch notes and stuff like that. Like you're allowed to be upset. Should you be upset? Probably not. Like fighting games in general, I'll be completely honest with you. Even the best players, I'll say this right now, even the best, it's been Smash Brothers Melee is a pretty good example of you don't know probably what you're talking about because the game gets patched so often. And like you look at like the patch notes and everything like that, Super Smash Brothers Melee, best character, Jigglypuff. Was it Jigglypuff the whole time? Yeah. No. Did anybody know it was Jigglypuff? Hell no. Like that's it. And it's a play style. It's the way you play and everything like that. But it's the best character in the game. Like,
it was also like character data. When the game came out, people didn't dive that deep. They did, and you could see it on like these obscure forums, but they really didn't look at the exact numbers. Whereas over time, I think they were able to see that Puff's hitbox and hurtbox severely changed, dramatically altered, and that informed a play strategy against the Marths, against even like Yoshi's coming in at one point, or the Pikachu meta with Smash Melee. So like, you're right. I think the patch notes and the cadence can really drastically change, and sometimes people are just talking about it, but sometimes you just pick a thing and you stick to it and you try to do the best you can with that. And I think that's a lot of what's happening with modern fighting games. But how many games are going to stick around 20 years where you're going to discover that, oh, Bowser's actually the fastest character in the game kind of stuff, right?
Yo, the tech that I have for Bowser.
Low key.
Low-key tech. Continue though. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second.
All right. So then looking at the Esports World Cup country representation here for Street Fighter 6 tournament, we had a top 32 totally representing. We had 12 from Japan. We had 6 from the US, 4 from China, 2 from the UAE, 2 from South Korea, 2 from Hong Kong, 1 from the DR, Dominican Republic, 1 from the United Kingdom, 1 from Taiwan, and 1 from Norway. So pretty all around in this competition in Radaya. I would almost assume that you'd see a lot more heavier from one region than the other. And you kind of do here with Japan, but I feel like that representation is because of the strength of the player base there. And I think that's something you do naturally see in a fighting game like Street Fighter 6. Moving into the top 16, kind of reducing it down, Japan has a big representation too. Only 3 people didn't make it into the top 16 for Japan. And then only another 3. So a total of 6 made it into the top 8 from Japan. So big representation from Japan, making it happen as well. The players' strength from that demographic hitting it and just hitting it hard. China and UAE also having some representation, but this seems to be the Japan show, absolutely in top 8 here. I do believe that the player from China, I do believe the player from China ended up taking first place with this as well. So good to see an entry point of a lot of different countries from all over hitting the top 32, even the top 16. But then you could see where the powerhouse players are really coming from in this game, and that is Japan, first and foremost. Nick, are you back in here with me, or?
About to be back. Give me
All right.
1 more second. Sorry. Emergency
Not a
phone
problem.
call.
You know, at that point, I'm going to switch us over to the main scene and see if I can bring us to the brackets real quick so we can see how that last day ended up going with that top 8 finishers. So here we go. Let me zoom this in a little bit. All right. So in quarters, we had Angry Bird and Takikawa basically getting run. Angry Bird losing 5-1. in this matchup. We had a bit more of a competitive situation with Kawano versus Ryu Kichi, making it a 5-4. Ultimately, Kawano taking the lead, bringing it to the semifinals, and then ultimately to the grand finals and facing off against Zhao Hai. I gotta work on my diction here, man. But moving into the third part, another close game. Zhao Hai facing off against Hikaru, moving 5-4. There, and then the final one, Higuchi versus Gachikun. A not a close one, but a 5-1 matchup here, ultimately going the way of Gachikun. Gachikun then facing off against Zhao Hai and losing that. And finally, just a big congratulations to Zhao Hai here, taking first place, running home with a solid $300,000. There we go. And not too shabby of a prize pool for second through eighth, $140,000 for second place, and then $75K for third, fourth, $45,000 for fifth through eighth. Pretty solid tournament overall. A lot of different representation, but like you can still see that the powerhouse of this game is coming from Japan, likely because of fan base and the player base and the community there. But it's good to see how this being played at a stage of this international, like Radaya, and just Esports World Cup overall. I would ask my guy Nick here for some extra thoughts, but he's still occupied. So rather than doing that, we're going to swap screens so I can get us ready for our next story, in which case we're going to actually go into Fortnite. And overall, Fortnite is, like we're saying, one of those games where it's a lot. It can be a lot, and you kind of focus on playing it, taking a little bit at a time. So we're going to break down the format here at EWC Fortnite. In the group stage, it started with 16 teams divided into 4 groups, and there was best of 5 matches. Top 2 teams from each group were advancing to the playoffs, and then the final 2 days, the playoffs were single elimination, a best of 7. So the first team to win 4 in each match won and moved on. Going to throw us right into the prize pool here, and a big congratulations to XSET for winning first place, pulling home a $400,000 prize and bringing 1,000 club points to their organization, XSET. Second place, Exceed, $160,000 for that second place finish and 600 club points. $80,000 for third and fourth for Heroic and Carmine Corp, respectively. We see Team Falcons, Dignitas, Gaming Gladiators, as well as R8 Esports finish out in the top 8. And it was kind of things we saw expected, and did end up seeing happening, where XSET just proved to be the strongest team. But the strongest player throughout, and is voted by the judges in this tournament for Fortnite, was Ritual, player from the US, bringing home an extra $50,000 from XSET, scoring that MVP award overall. Yeah, I'm going to move us down into the brackets, how it played out, how they end up working out, who left groups, who didn't. So just bear with me one moment. I don't know if you got yourself muted, my dude, but you may or may not be back.
Yeah, I got myself muted. I have a slight emergency phone call. But yeah, I'll be back in 2 minutes. Like, I'm here. I just need to send something that's very important, I guess. Be right back.
All right, so let's go over the group stages while we wait for Nick. But I'll just monologue here. Group A, we had XSET, Team Falcons, Dragons Esports, and Zeta Division. The 2 winners of this, XSET and Team Falcons, pulling out of the group stage, but Dragon Esports and Zeta not doing quite so hot. 1-2 finish, 0-2 finish. Zeta going 0-6, actually. Unlucky for Zeta. Group B, we had Exceed and Gaming Gladiators pull out the wins in a fairly close match, it looks like, with PWR, Power, and Outula going 0-2 and getting knocked out of that Group B. For Group C, Carmine Corp and R8 Esports, that we know going on to finish in top 8. They end up kicking out KS7 as well as Fnatic. Fnatic not really having a strong showing, but still taking one round in a 1-6 finish, 0-2 overall in their matches. Heroic and Dignitas pulling out of Group D, while Big and W7M Esports not doing so hot and getting knocked out of their Group D. Bringing us down into the playoff bracket, we had the matches set. X-Set going against Gaming Gladiators, in fact 4-0ing them in a pretty definitive set. In fact, X-Set going through the entire bracket, definitively showing that they were the best. X-Set over Heroic 4-1. X-Set over Exceed 4-2. It doesn't seem like anybody could get more than a map or two off of these guys, and it paid off for them, literally. But looking at some of the other teams who gave it their shot, Heroic over R8 Esports 4-2. Exceed over Team Falcons, and Carmine Corp over Dignitas. That was rounding out our quarterfinals, and then bringing us home in the semifinals. Exceed over Carmine Corp to set up the grand final, where Exceed lost to X-Set 4-2. I'm going to bring us over into the championship picture right here. And you can see X-Set, a little bit muted, but happy to win this $400,000, getting the Hoistat trophy over their heads, bringing it home for this Fortnite team, for this tournament, for a great showing of Fortnite. And like, generally speaking, Fortnite can tend to be a bit hectic, a bit chaotic. So like those long-term tournaments, it's hard to have that sustainability and be dominant like that. And these guys were able to show that teamwork and make that happen. Scrolling down here, I think this is pretty much everything we saw. Yep. All right, and I believe, that's all good for it. So I believe that wraps it up for Fortnite here and their time at the EWC. At this point, we're going to look ahead to week 7 of the EWC, what to watch, when to watch it. All right, so I'm going to bring us over to the schedule for this week. And we've got 3 games happening at the EWC this week and weekend. StarCraft 2 might be the most prominent one. Definitely one of the most historic games. Our Elder Statesman. For this part of the Esports World Cup. We've got Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 happening as well. That's kicking off on Thursday, the 14th. StarCraft kicking off tomorrow, the 13th. Then we've also got Football Club 24, formerly FIFA, but now soccer is taking a new name with EA. Football Club 24 is kicking off as well on Thursday. All right, let's break this down into the format and expectation of these 3 games really quick. Where to watch it, how to watch it. Well, first and foremost, it's going to be watched on YouTube through the EWC. And beyond that, you can take a look. And beyond that, you can take a look at the teams playing here. We've got Levy de Weird Johnny as well. Am I in the right thing? Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm not. Hectic day here at the Esports Meta, trying to get through. But let's take a look at Football Club. It's going to be one-on-one matches, tournament styles. Group A, Group B, with a resurrection group from getting knocked out in your group stage, bringing us into a bracket-style tournament here this weekend. Lot to look forward with that one. Definitely exciting. And I'm not even really a FIFA fan, a soccer fan, but I know these tournaments are going to be hyped, and I'm going to be looking forward to watching that a bit this week. Then we're also going to be bringing in StarCraft. And all my StarCraft 2 heads, you already know what's going on. You don't need me here to tell you, but we're going to be looking for this one with the group stages, as well as the head-to-head winners clash here, bringing us off into the knockout playoffs this weekend. We got teams like Maru, Spirit, Oliviera, Bayun, Gumio, Asteria, Hero Marine, and Dark in Group A. Then we've got Cyril, Coffee, Hero, Solar, Cure, Raynor, Classic, and Clem bringing us up into Group B. It's a big deal, and we're going to see how this plays out because there's been a lot of shakeup in the meta where I believe Scarlet was making moves, making things happen. All right. And then finally, the last game we have to look forward this week is Modern Warfare 3, Call of Duty. Call of Duty League is bringing it over into Saudi Arabia to Riyadh, and we're going to be seeing that play happen this weekend, starting on Thursday. We've got group stages bring us into elimination and then into playoff knockouts. We got Omit, Brooklyn, Optic Gaming, Carolina Royal Ravens, and Las Vegas Legion in Group A facing off starting Thursday. Group B, Vancouver Surge, Cloud9, G2 Esports, as well as Gentle Mates on the Group B side of things. Group C, the Stallions, Boston Breach, Team Heretics, and Toronto Ultra competing to reign supreme in Group C. And then Group D, 100 Thieves, Lore Gaming, Team Falcons, and Atlanta FaZe. Now, there's some teams here that'll be vying for points, hopefully pushing out, Team Falcons being one of them. But ultimately, if you can get the club champion points, it's great. Beyond that, you're just looking to make it to the playoff bracket and not get knocked out. Get as far as you can because that prize pool is going to be sick. We're talking $600,000 for first place, which is a pretty hefty prize comparative to some of the other games competing in the EWC overall. All right. So that's wrapping up here with the EWC, what to look forward to this week and everything occurring on stream. Take a look at it. Let us know what you're excited about, what you want to be looking out for. I'll be letting you know what I'm looking out for as we're watching along this weekend, and definitely talking about it next week a little bit. All right, Nicholas, we got you back, or are you still on hold?
Dude, let's do it.
All right. And we're going to do it just in time because we're going to be moving into our next topic. We're going to be talking about the current situation in LCS. We had a bit of a prediction and a setup to what to expect when you're watching this past weekend of League of Legends, but now we have the results and we're going to be going over what the final results are as we go into the playoffs here. All right. So let me bring that up on screen real quick, and we have to we have to pick up where we left off last week, and that's right here with the games happening the 10th and the 11th, last Saturday and Sunday. Team Liquid Honda taking the win over NRG. This was the one we had our eyes on because there was the potential for upset. It looked like the script was going to go as move forward, but if NRG could just muster that, X factor, which we kind of hope for, then that would have shooken up the middle of the pack standings that we're talking about. We didn't know who was going to get 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. We did not know what was going to happen. But, now we have a solid idea, and it's mostly because Team Liquid Honda here bringing us to a 2-0 victory over NRG. The 7-0 standings overall definitely keeps it pretty straightforward. You kind of expected them to win it out with this stuff. All right. Then on the other side here, 100 Thieves over Shopify Rebellion for Saturday. 100 Thieves having a pretty close one against that 1-6 team, but they haven't been doing so hot themselves. They do pull out the win, and they might be beneficial to them because they were pretty close to getting eliminated for contention for the playoffs of the summer split coming up. Nick, are you with us? And did you get to watch these games?
So I did, man, but it wasn't nice. Like having this is what I was saying last week, right? Like having NRG, like basically they get to go play in the sand pit. Like they didn't really have to do anything. And then FlyQuest and Cloud9 are the only ones who actually stressed. It was cool that we did see we saw some movement in the fourth spot. As I was saying, it's to be expected that NRG was going to lose. No disrespect to them or anything, right? But it's to be expected that they were going to lose. They did. I'm pretty sure I said Cloud9. I was pretty sure Cloud9 was going to take the 2 spot. And FlyQuest is still it's not that they're doing bad. It sucks to lose 0-2, but these should be best of 5s, to be honest. These are the last games of the regular season. You just make them best of 5s, almost like mini playoffs. I think that this is the one thing that North America is, I don't want to say they're better at, but they really need more games in order to get to swimming. We'll say get used to the water.
Yeah, another way could be it'd take a while to warm up, right? They haven't figured out their sea legs here, but it's a tough. It seems to be tough because if you look at their records overall for the end of this season, the split of the season, Liquid Honda. I want to joke back to our inside joke. Team Liquid Honda here, 7-0. They haven't lost a game this entire time. 100 Thieves going 3-4, NRG going 2-5, Shopify Rebellion 1-6. Like, it really just seems to be the Team Liquid Honda show, FlyQuest, and Cloud9, right? And like that was what we were talking about last week when we were saying what to look out for this. But we also identified that spark, that possibility that could just energize Energy Kia, and like it just didn't. They fell flat 0-2, and of course, statistically, numerically, 7-0, going against a 7-0 team, you're probably not going to make it, bro. But like maybe that's the thing, but that's the tough thing, man. If you can't just like turn that competitive on, turn that juice on, maybe you can't do it, right? Like maybe that's the fault of North America. You got to warm up. Maybe they, I don't know. It's something to talk about with format.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of different reasons. I do think that like something like this, like there is no reason for NRG to play another match at all in playoffs. Like they're like, no disrespect, bro. I don't want to see you play again. That's it. So like the format should just be changed based on we shouldn't have a 2-6 fucking team sitting in playoffs. What the fuck? Like full honesty, like it kind of pisses me off that like a 2-6 team, everybody else, like the other guys are 3-4. Maybe we need like these records are kind of like they're kind of awkward, right? Like little awkward. These records.
It feels bad,
like,
man. It definitely feels bad.
7 games, like 7 matches. Sorry, like 7 matches, right? And they're playing like at most 3, like no, 5, right? This is like for you can have 2-2 and then go for the 5th game. That's not happening. So it's definitely
tough.
weird. But I would rather see the top 5 spots. Like this is half the league. There's only 10 teams now, right? What is the bottom half doing in there? Like again, no disrespect. What is going on? Camera. There we go. That was weird. But anyway, so like I would rather see the first 5 teams like round robin each other or something. Like everybody faces everybody instead of like in playoffs, so that I can see like. It doesn't always have to be like football. It could be more like an actual game, guys. Like it doesn't need to be tournament style every single time of like, these guys going into the semifinals already, and then there's like a losers bracket and stuff like that. Like we already have that many games. I don't know. It's just like an old man being grumpy. Yeah,
but the only thing I'd kind of make a point to you with it is like if you have these 7 teams playing like this and like there's obvious bad ones, 1-6 Shopify Rebellion, 1-6 Immortals Progressive, 2-5 Energy Kia, like it doesn't feel like it's going to amount to anything if these teams are playing more games. And like, is this a quality issue? Is this a just a flub or a fluke from this stage of things? Like it's hard to say. And like we saw how FlyQuest struggled last stage and then ended up going on a pretty good streak for it. And maybe they're just like, they're kind of just riding high through the middle of the pack. Same with like a Dignitas here. But like, you've got 3 teams with positive records out of 8. I don't know how that's possible.
It's
right?
because we're missing the other 2 teams. Like I misspoke. Like there's only 8 teams right now. Like
right. And really
like
it was
10.
just this stage, it seems like it was just a round robin. You're playing the other 7 teams once. So Team Liquid beat every other team, no problem. And Cloud9 probably just lost to Team Liquid, right? But then you've got the other side where it's like, yeah, like there's something amiss here, and this 7-0 record doesn't feel good. It doesn't look good. The format of it doesn't, because then when you, like you said, you bring it into playoffs, you've got a 2-5 team going against a 6-2 team or a 5-2 team. 5-2.
By comparison, there's like 10 less games compared to like 10 less matches compared to like Korea, who also has 10 teams, and they do best of 3s. Sorry.
And like a lot of that could be the time aspect of it, like how long it takes to play League, how long the pick and ban phases go, how long the broadcast might be.
Well, I mean, they shortened the broadcast, but I think this has more to do with the fact that like we're in that transition stage of like we're not NA, we're North America. Or sorry, we're the Americas now, right? Like,
I was about to say NA is North America, bro.
Hooray. Like no, like South America region got put into us, right? So like I'm assuming that this is that weird stage before we evolve into the Americas. Like it's a tad goofy, right?
It's really goofy, yeah.
So I mean, like that's just a thing that like.
Yeah, and I wonder how much it's going to hurt our like the broadcast or the game itself. Like the transition might be good, but like going into a playoff system here, that like it makes sense on paper, but like the first couple of games are just going to be bad. They're going to be like unexciting, and like you're going to root for the upset. Like these Dignitas and 100 Thieves is going to be a closer matchup, but then they're going to go straight into the Lions Den here against Team Liquid, right? Like, oh, and like the stat lines are going to be like, well, Team Liquid just taking the win. If I was a betting man, I'd probably be betting on that guy because they went undefeated against all these teams earlier in this stage. So like, it feels bad.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. It does feel bad. I like the this goes for fighters. This goes for any competitive game, like just in general. And this again, no disrespect to Dignitas and 100 Thieves are going to have a better chance going up against Team Liquid than FlyQuest is going to have going up against Cloud9 after this. And again, this is no disrespect, bro. Like you're going to get bad habits from playing bad players. So like if you outclass these teams, you're just doing a disservice to yourself if you just don't pump them. If you don't slap cheeks and just take them the hell out and disrespect them, like you actually negatively impact your own team's odds of like winning and your mental going into like Cloud9. Like Cloud9 already beat you, and who did you warm up with? You warmed up with like the sixth place team out of 8. Like
right, and that's kind of my point. It's kind of my point because it's just like folding on itself in like a negative feedback loop, and maybe it doesn't matter. Like right, they're not going to be NA anymore. They're going to be the Americas. You could take the team out of NA, but you can't take the NA out of the team. That's for sure. So we'll see what happens with the new format next year. But how is this going to play out? Because we just came from MSI, which was arguably one of the best MSIs there's ever been. And, half of that reason is going to be from the international teams and international competition, but it was exciting across the board. It wasn't just some 1-6 team skirting its way in. It was the meat and potatoes. And this is supposed to be the meat and potatoes of the LCS, the playoffs, before we get into the end game this season, right? So like here we are in the playoffs, and what are we looking at? So hopefully it's not something that undermines the quality, like you're saying, the standings of like player skill, the bad habits. It starts introducing bad habits.
Like they're not bad. I don't.
They're way better than us. Weird. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, they're way better than us. But like the players that are on these teams, like Energy Kia has they got a really solid roster. I love a lot of the players on Energy Kia, man. Like FBI, Huki, Soaz. Like I like a lot of these players. Right, Contracts is on there. Like I really enjoy these players. And I like how they play. Yeah, I was correct. I got it right. Palafox is on there. Let's go. So like they have good players. And this, like I say it all, like America's, North America isn't that bad. It's got all these players on it. Like they're like really solid players. And I think it's the meat and potatoes is always watched, and we always crave more meat and potatoes. The problem is we never I do think people are a little flippant when it comes to like North America, like watching the North American games, to say like, again, they're not bad. Like it's not really going to be like a bad quarterfinals, right? If that's what you want to call it, like whatever the first stage is in the playoffs, whatever they want to call it, it's not going to be bad time to like watch it. It's really like, how much value like this is like how much intrinsic value do like the players get from like watching it? Right. They might like people, subconsciously are a tad disrespectful to like, and consciously. I just did it. Like I was pretty disrespectful to NRG, right? But like, you know, not really trying to be. Like it's just one of these things where like they're sixth place. They might have bad like I can break down. We can go to like a breakdown and see what like the bad habits are. But even we already discussed Baker had a bad habit in his like just getting caught out the whole entire game the last time.
Right.
Players have these bad habits. And I think it's just a simple fact of like NA just doesn't have enough games going into playoffs against each other. Right.
But it might also be a problem that NA isn't the main character. And I'm not saying it needs to be, because clearly the competition has like looked down about NA for a while. LCK, the Korean and the APAC region, is definitely the main character, and that might have different ramifications. Similar to like basketball, the NBA is the main character when it comes to basketball. Everybody's trying to play there. Teams are the best there. But then you have like the Euro League. You've got all these summer leagues and like and whatnot. And like they're not saying they're bad, but they're definitely not the main character. And they take that side note, and taking that side note, that sidecar, it produces a different mindset, a different culture, even maybe just from the way they run teams, from coaching and strategy. Like you said, if we look here at the bracket this week for LCS playoffs, for the playoffs of the summer split, I'm trying to say it correctly. We go into like, why is NRG Kia, who has good teams, maybe they just haven't clicked. Maybe it's coaching. Maybe it's organization. Maybe it's just they're writing it off because they're going to be moving into the new sort of a coalition conference next year. But like, that's all happening. But like, why is it happening? And like, it's hard to say in that way, because like, it might just be that they're the side character. It might just be those unknown factors behind the scenes. But like, the fans aren't going to care. They just want to watch the game, and they want to watch a team that they attach with, they're engaged with, and that they want to win. But like, it's hard to root for Energy Kia when they're 2-6, man. Like, it's hard not to think, oh yeah, Team Liquid's not just going to 7-0 these guys, because they already did. And like, part of that is maybe the number of games in a year in the split, but I don't know, man. It's tough, and I don't. They have some soul searching. The teams, the organizations, as well as Riot. So monologue over, TED talk over for my point of view on this. But dude, it just feels bad, man. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and like, you know, it's not supposed to feel bad, but you know, it does.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you know, again, it's just unfortunate, I think, for FlyQuest. I think FlyQuest has like the worst position out of like everything, and even maybe Cloud9. Like, I think this side bracket like is a tad rough. Like, personally, I would probably prefer just like tier it out and just have like not even like have, you know, Dignitas, 100 Thieves, and NRG have like a round robin thing where they're gonna play each other. And then they come out, you know, whoever out of these three teams, whoever has the best record playing against each other, right? Then you guys get to face FlyQuest. Then whoever wins that gets to face Cloud9. I'd like to see some like something like that, rather than like, oh, cool, I can miss round one. Oh, cool, I can miss round two.
I wonder too.
I could probably miss upper bracket finals.
Like, I wonder how much that plays into it. But then also, like, the teams that have the ticket to Worlds at the end of this year already kind of, they're not sandbagging it, but maybe they're not trying as hard. They're saving their good algebra for the fourth quarter, right? Like, and that might be the case here. FlyQuest had a pretty solid. They didn't do too bad this one. I think 5-2. So, right. So like, not too shabby. They're one of three teams that are in the positive for the record on this split. But like, I wonder too, how much like are they laying off of the gas for this split, or are they just trying to like, you know, and maybe the other teams are like, hey, we don't have a statistical chance. Let's not bother. So like, there could be all that happening in the background. And I do want to kind of pivot us into something positive here. And maybe the positive, okay, is like predictions. What do you see happening here? Who's taking the bracket, who's getting knocked down to lower bracket and going all the way back up to the upper bracket? So that's the two questions. Who's going to the grand finals and winning, and then who's running the lower bracket?
Most likely grand finals is going to be Cloud9 and Team Liquid. Like, just in general, they're like, Cloud9's going to get knocked out in the upper bracket finals and have to fight their way back in. that should be smooth for them. But mental's mental, so you never know like if they're gonna just like throw the game. And they're gonna knock FlyQuest down. Who knows? Like energy can be the dark horse and like come out and just start taking everybody out, right? Like I think we will see like I don't want anybody to feel bad. Like I think Dignitas is going to beat 100 Thieves in the first round, in round 1, and I think that I'm hoping 100 Thieves goes on a tear until they have to face Cloud9. So like I hope. My thought is that Team Liquid's going to be number 1. 100 Thieves will be number 3. I want 100 Thieves to be number 3 because that would make it like super exciting. That would make it worthwhile for me if 100 Thieves loses because I do like to watch 100 Thieves. I like the team. If they lose, go to the lower bracket finals. I'll have more incentive to watch lower bracket finals. I will tell you, not lower bracket finals. Sorry, lower bracket round 1.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, I'm not watching those games. Like, this is why I don't like this sort of format. It's like, it's very clear that the player, like the fan base is going to be like, well, I'm not watching that. That's not for me. That's for like somebody else,
And like the format is good and makes sense when you have teams that have positive records. I think 3 of these teams don't, right? Like you can't really like argue on, and I know you're not arguing it, but I'm sorry, brought us to the wrong thing. Want to bring us to standings over here. But again, like that's not the standings. Come on.
Just click the standings. Click standings at the top.
I did, man. It's not working.
The site's broken. Oh, the site is broken.
RIP. But with that,
click on regular season, bro. Like up at the top instead of playoffs.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
There you go.
All right, making sure we're back up. But yeah, like just kind of prove my point again. Like FlyQuest, Cloud9, and Team Liquid Honda are the only 3 teams that have a positive win record. Now, does the positive win record represent their success? Well, obviously it does. But they played everybody once, and then they won more than they lost, and the other teams lost more than they won. When you have 5 out of 8 teams lose more than they won, maybe that's close games, maybe it's not, but that's the part that feels bad. So do you really think a Dignitas 100, these guys are awesome players, right? But why is it 3 and 4? Why is 100 Thieves 3 and 4? Why is Energy Kia 2 and 5? It makes for a great storyline if they beat the 7-0 team, but then what's the likelihood of that? And that's the conversation piece I'm having with this prediction. I think it's going to be Team Liquid Honda going into the finals, probably winning. I think Cloud9 is going to get to the middle bracket. I think it's between them and FlyQuest, which it's probably going to be in that bracket. They're going to have the big rivalry match in the upper bracket and then again in the lower bracket. And whoever can overcome the other is going to face Team Liquid Honda. And I'm saying that almost begrudgingly because it almost feels like the script is in and it's all set in stone already.
I mean, I would assume so. This might just be a product of what, as I said before, the combining of North and South America and I guess Canada. You're welcome. It could be that sort of thing, right? But it could also be that Mark Z is the new commissioner, right? He's the big head honcho doing some stuff, right? He's reduced a lot of the bloat that was going on, right? With broadcasting, even though hiccups still happen and everything like that. This could be his thought process of everybody faces each other once in the best of 3, which prevents silly slip ups, right? At the end, Team Liquid faces Dignitas again, right? They face him round 2 and then they slip up because they're disrespecting him and not respecting them as an opponent, blah blah blah. They lose the game, and it's oh, way to throw. Maybe he's trying to get rid of that. Who knows? but it's a little goofy that you only played 7 matches.
There's excitement in that for sure, right? And like that's why a lot of people love playoff hockey, playoff baseball, playoff sports in general, because you have that single elimination kind of situation. Baseball, best of 7, basketball, best of 7, like there's still that excitement, but like it's on a different level, you know, and it shouldn't just be like a who showed up, who had COVID and wasn't playing to their fullest, who, you know, knew what the weather was going to be and decided to deflate some balls or something, right? Like you see all those sort of things happen in traditional sports. And I'm sure the same is happening here, but like it's not really creating a sustainable situation, and something needs to change. But let's see how this tournament goes. Let's see how this playoff season goes in the LCS. See who comes in with the spark. I think Cloud9 needs to basically get an invite to Worlds to like have some sort of showing. So winning this is going to give them a good position for that. But like ultimately, it might just be the LCK show, the Korean show, and Worlds, and that's kind of what they already figured out here, or they've already kind of resigned themselves to.
The Gen G show,
right?
I'm not a big fan of them, but hey. Let's do it, Gen G. Like, let's go.
All right, man. Talking a lot about that, and it's been a kind of a scuffed episode, but we're working our way through. Thanks for sticking around with us. We've got a couple more topics to talk about. If you want to chime in, make sure you hit us up on our social media at the Esports Meta on all your favorite platforms. Otherwise, you can just make a comment here. Lurking is just fine. We love you. We love you the same, no matter what you want to do. But if you are invested in these topics, chime in. Let us know what your thoughts are. What are you expecting? We'll do our best to include you in the show. But moving into our next topics, we still have Overwatch ban percentages to come up. Shroud's new game, Spectre Divide. We'll be breaking that game down and kind of talking about that, what to expect with that, what that game is about. And then right now, we're going to be talking about snap tapping. What is it, and why is it the new hot thing in mouse and keyboard gaming? Nick, off the top, going to bring us into a slide here, but tell me what you know about snap tapping. What is it?
Working as intended.
That is the theme you said, yeah.
Intended. Yeah, it's the most working as intended feature I've ever fucking seen.
And that might be a great way of putting it, because it essentially is keyboards finally working as you would intend it to work.
Exactly. What does a keyboard do? It activates the button you press, right? And before snap tapping, right, you had to wait for the button to let you go on your second letter. Like it's dumb.
Yeah,
like,
well,
working as intended.
In a bit of a more extensive breakdown for it, right? Snap tapping is you press the keyboard, you press the button, and there's a delay on the input. There's a delay time from the time it takes for you to press the button all the way down on the keyboard. And then there's a delay time for when it releases. Technically, it's physical delay, and like players would adjust to that. Snap tapping advances an idea that was built on by the Wooting keyboards, where you'd have down press as soon as it past a threshold. It means that instead of waiting until it gets all the way to the keyboard, all the way to the bottom, and that's when it activates, there's a threshold, maybe halfway or 75%, where it starts to activate. Snap tapping will do that, but then it adds an immediate release so that you can immediately press another button. So all those, AD spams, where you're jiggle peeking, you can literally hold the A button and tap the D button. You got to tap that D and bring it back and forth. And just briefly, I want to show you over here video by Optimum. Maybe you've seen this, but this is one of the best representations of how it looks. I'm going to bring this into a better screen. There we go.
It's wacky,
it is
bro. It's
wacky looking.
It's going to ruin your brain. And you're going to, if you're not used to this, you're going to be screaming, this kid cheats. But
in that same way, this was a skill to learn that had a higher ceiling, a higher skill floor to get to, and a higher ceiling as you got better to it for players to do it. And some days you were on and some days you're off. What snap tapping does is it makes it instant. It makes it super easy. And it looks like this.
Yeah. So the easiest way that I fundamentally started thinking about it is that your last key that you press is the only one that matters. The last one. So the new one just takes over. That's it. New one just takes over. That's the last key you pressed was D. D's doing it now, not any anymore. and you're pressing A still, like it just doesn't. No, D happened because
Right.
you pressed D. It's the new one that happened. It just it fundamentally makes sense I will tell you, this is how Hitbox operates. Like, this is Hitbox.
The fighting game controller,
I'm telling
yeah.
you right now, like, you hold back and you just and you get the spam of hit a button and do different combos. Like, this is how Hitbox works.
Right. There's no lag. There's no misinputs. It's just straight working as intended as far as what you would naturally feel. But we've had 30 years of mouse and keyboards not working like this. So it's a bit of a shock to the system, especially when you see it. And like, it is a competitive advantage, but it's a competitive advantage because of it makes the toolbox easier. It's a tool that makes the action easier. Players would normally do this in a match regardless. And here we have just, Optimum talking about it specifically, how you're able to jiggle peek, and where it's really coming for. So before we go into a bit more of his video, let's tell you what it looks like from Razer itself and how you can get it yourself if you want it, or be more informed about what's going on if you see that wacky sliding happening here. So how snap tap mode works: on and off, overlay inputs. Just like we said, you press the key, the signal is sent. The second that you press the next key, the signal is also sent, even if you haven't released the first one. So you press left, you go left, you press right, you go right. And like, you have A and D on, you don't move. And this is how it normally works. But when you turn it on, it's immediately overwritten by the new one. Right? You press A, you go left. You press D, you go right. But if you have A and D, it's the last input that you enter that will activate on that. Simple as that. And the benefits is pretty clear. You move better. You can get that little jiggle peek on the edge for those tactical shooters. You can have better dodging and mobility movement for something like Overwatch or Fortnite. And, Razer's going to sit here and like basically sell you on how the pros love it. They're going to use it. But specifically, it is made for everybody. And this was a skill that pros predominantly had to learn originally, but now it's just easier. They basically have a new tool that made their life easier. And you can get this as well on the Huntsman
Yeah,
keyboard.
you just got to pay for it, huh? Instead
Razer.
of like activating some code real quick that you could just activate instead of buying Razer's product.
I do know that there's a way for you to...
So this is something you would have got banned for in CSGO and Counter-Strike in general. This is something that people were
Why is that?
legitimately there's a code to do this. Like, to make your keyboard act like this, there is just a script that you can run to have your keyboard act like this, and it was banned.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Offense, like, in general.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too, is like, you're talking about it being banned with Counter-Strike previously. You don't need a Huntsman keyboard or Razer product to get this, but when you do it through those third-party means, it does then bring in this accusation of hacking or somewhat botting, because you're like creating a script, a key tapping script that activates on the side, and like that extra program is where it gets illegal. And like, I still feel like that applies here, and I think Wooting even argues currently that it applies here for Razer, but Razer's selling it as buy the keyboard and our natural software / firmware already has it included for this keyboard. It's a lot, man. It's a lot.
So for like,
yeah,
I don't know, like, this is one of those situations where I know that there's a couple people that like I've always wanted my keyboards to work this way, and I found it frustrating when they didn't, because we come from like before, well, not we, but like before I played on keyboard and mouse, I was playing on console. So like that, like, I don't know. I feel like this is like a normal console feature of like wiggling with your thumbstick. You know what I mean? Like they're like, cause it's on a ball and it has to be pretty like dynamic in order for you to actually get some nice movement out of like a controller like that. So I feel like this is just like, this is where everybody's brain subconsciously is, maybe.
Even like even like a controller, there's input lag, and like that's essentially what they're trying to eliminate here, and they're doing it in such an extreme way that is finally, like you said, working as intended. This is probably what was intended by a controller, not literally a controller, but like a keyboard controller, a mouse controller, a controller 30, 40 years ago when they invented it. Like they probably wanted the NES controller to have zero input lag. And that's kind of what this does. It puts the threshold at literally the top. You can set it where you want. And then the second you press a second button and activate that, it activates. It doesn't wait till the first one's done. So like it is working as intended, but it's 30 years of like not working as intended or adjustments or adaptation that's gotten us here for it. So it's hard to like parse like how much of it is a competitive advantage and how much is it cheating.
So like here's the weird thing, right? Like the oh my god, what company was that? As soon as Razer announced this and put it out there, right? They made like another very reputable mechanical keyboard company basically said like they put out a poll on Twitter. I think I said it last week and I knew their name right off the top of my head. They put out a poll on Twitter. Hey guys, do you want us to do this for our keyboards too? Overwhelmingly positive. Yes. Right. And they said, cool. Our most recent keyboard has this feature now. P.S. Every keyboard we made has this feature now. So it's not something that, like it sounds like something that we've actually like companies have just like limited. You know what I mean? Like DLC that's been on the disc the whole time, like this kind of nonsense. Like that's kind of what it feels like to me, that if you can go back and be like, yeah, all right, all our stuff now has it.
Maybe it's just a Razer. Like we're doing it this way because it's the way we've done it forever. So no one's ever thought about turning that. And then Wu-Ting started, I keep saying that weird. Wu-Ting started adjusting it and giving for that competitiveness, and then Razer's just like, let's take it and let's throw it down the hallway and just go a mile with it. And that's where we're seeing that. But then like you're saying, they're also kind of paywalling it themselves, and like it's just the Huntsman that offers it for them, whereas other companies can potentially offer it across their entire inventory.
Yeah. It'll be exactly what keyboards are supposed to be like in the future. And it looks like a little wacky. And, maybe this just ends up being that the developers need to take more care in the way the movement works in their game, just in general, instead of just like slippy, slidey characters and stuff. Maybe characters need to have, some sort of traction value or something like that where they have to ramp up or have to slow down. Like, this is going to be where, cool, you can do it. But now, Overwatch patch. So guess what? Like we already fixed it. Now it doesn't matter if you have snap tapping. Games can decide that.
That's tricky, though, because we end up in a Smash 4, where you have tripping on the game because Diddy Kong's too broken, where developers start taking like these weird, like ultimate resolutions to like solve the problem, but it doesn't solve it. It just creates a different moment and whatnot. So like, I get skeptical about that point because then you might have like bad developer decisions happening in the competitiveness of the game, and like where some might be good, where Street Fighter includes the hitbox rather than exclude it. They make it generally the option, the code available to everybody, regardless of what you use. Others might not. It might not do it and implement it in a way that's keeping competitive integrity. So like, this is a big shakeup. This is a big deal, and like, it's gonna be interesting to watch.
Isn't it? Like it's out the box already. Like this is like Pandora's box. Like it's not going away. Like if you try to ban this, like again, like this is, never take anything away from your players. You only add to it. Like you never take away. If they're doing something already and people find it to be cool, and other people are saying I don't like this, but people already find it to be cool. Guess what? People who you don't like. You who don't like it, get fucked. Like, sorry, but it's here to stay. It's never going away.
I think a softer way of saying it is like the genie's already out of the bottle, and like when you see movement like that by the characters and like when you're playing against it, it's going to be frustrating. And then the only solution is to then buy it yourself. It feels bad in that way. So like, yeah, the genie's out of the bottle, and like it might really be up to developers to be able to police this by doing certain things. And maybe it's just going to take a little bit for them to figure out what's good and what's not, as far as what's applicable to like working and what feels good. Because
100%, 100%. but it not going away and being a mainstay feature, the only thing that people have to worry about is the price break that people are going to add it in. Like, are we going to, like, we should be seeing this on $80 mechanical keyboards, $60 mechanical keyboards. It's not an expensive feature to add just in general. Like, it should be
code.
The base.
Yeah,
it should be the base. And the only thing that shouldn't have it is probably like, bro, don't game on a Logitech G923. Like, that's not the keyboard for you if you're if you're playing Fortnite. Like, we all do.
I use my 60% Dell Gateway keyboard. What are you talking about?
And I have a roller track mouse, and I don't I don't have a laser mouse anymore. Like, it's just, that's the part to be like worried about, is if like people are going to be priced out of playing competitive games because these I don't want to say developers. These companies that are producing these peripherals don't feel that, your $60 is worthy enough for them to put this this minuscule thing. Like, it's so minuscule, which is why it took a Twitter post. Yeah. Like, it was a Twitter survey to be like, all right, guys, we gave it to you. That's how easy it is. Like, so if Razer's like, oh, it's only on our Death Rattler V72 that's $150. Like, no, like,
yeah, that's the part that's like really dishonest. I don't have
to go in on Razer. I could do this all day.
No, they are making it easy, because that is the dishonest part about this situation, and that's the dishonest thing about their product, where it could be easily, and it could just be a middle manager making that decision because it's going to affect the profit line, the profit margin at the end of the day. And like, they are a business, and so businesses are in the business of making money, but then at what point is it like fair, unfair? And that's where we're talking about the competitive advantage and whatnot. It will be something we'll see as going on. If you have experience with the snap tapping on Razer specifically, or a different keyboard, or you've played against it, let us know. Hit us up on our social media. Hit us up here in the comments. We'd love to hear what you have to say. The everyday gamer, everyday competitive gamer, because that's exactly what we are. So we want to hear from you guys. Let us know. All right. But in the meantime, we're going to move into our topic of Overwatch. If we're in the last home stretch of this, we've got 2 more topics to go. And here we are, Overwatch World Cup. We were speaking about how the results went, but we were really preoccupied, and I'm going to flashbang you for a second. We were really preoccupied with the numbers. It might be a little tough to see, and I'm going to do my best to kind of break this down, but I was able to aggregate all the data from the tournament at EWC of Overwatch 2. This was the first tournament at that scale where they had a pick ban system. The format, really, each team could ban one hero. The team who banned first picked a role. The second team could not pick a hero from that same role. So if I picked a hero from support, and it was your turn to ban, you could not pick a hero from support. You had to pick one from DPS or tank. Then, and throughout the round, if you and I were playing, we could not pick the same hero that we picked previously. So if I picked Lucio in map 1, I cannot pick Lucio again for that entire match that we were playing. And that was pretty much the only limitations to this. Each side got one pick. Neither team could play those picks. You could only pick one from each category, and you couldn't pick that hero again in that in that match. So that was the breakdown for it. And like, I took all the numbers, all the information, and aggregated into this beautiful color-coded chart to see which teams picked what. I would have loved to see a bit more information about who picked first, but unfortunately it wasn't available to me on this. This chart and table might be a bit much for us to like sort through stuff. I can share this document. If you are interested, let us know on our social medias or here in the comments on the VOD, etc. I'll happily share it with those who want it, need it. But I was able to then take that information and kind of break it down into better sort of visuals and better aggregates and takeaways analysis. It's going to be a little bit hard to kind of overall see. There we go. So here, first and foremost, let me get us into view. This is the first chart. We had the heroes banned. This was all the heroes that were picked throughout the map. And our number 1 most picked hero that was banned was Winston, followed by Lucio. Then it was Diva, Baptiste, and Ana. So you have 3 of the support heroes being banned the most, with Winston actually being the most banned. Nick, just taking a look on this, it's kind of hard to see. Just help you out a little bit. I don't know if you have any takeaways just from the initial numbers here, but what do you see? What are you thinking with this stuff?
There's only one tank, so obviously, like, the tanks are, for the most part, like, pretty valuable bans just overall. And then you can see a couple of the tanks that really just do not matter for bans. Like, they're not impactful, and we can see exactly which supports should be getting banned or should be getting played, right? And it's probably because they fit so well into, like, so many, like, Lucio just in general. The movement speed alone is, like,
right.
Traversing maps is pretty broken in any competitive game that has map movement, right? If you
mobility
have
is huge.
Play,
yeah, mobility is huge in any game.
And they probably should have limited that, but, hey, it's Blizzard for you. Let's move it around.
I wonder too because in the top 5 heroes, you've got 2 tanks and 3 supports, right? You've got Winston, D.Va, which are both dive characters. You've got Ana, Lucio, and Baptiste. Baptiste is more of a poke, sort of, maybe bunker comp in the old days, but, like, it's a poke. It's a brawl healer. Ana is a dive healer. But Ana also fits into a lot of different comps. You can play her differently for each one. And then Lucio just gets people there, gets people moving quick, and can fit into a lot of different things. It was interesting to see this happening in the top 5 picks for bans were those, showing that, like, tanks kind of define the meta, which we kind of knew. Tanks will establish the team composition. You base it off of what tank you're playing. Mm-hmm. But then D.Va and Winston have been kind of strong in recent patches. Lucio, Ana, Baptiste are super playable in the current patch. But like, what's funny, because last week we were talking about Crazy Raccoon's strategy, and we'll look at this in a second when we go break it down by team, what they picked. But, like, in 3 of their 5 matches of the brackets, Crazy Raccoons picked Kiriko, like, first, right? They knew that was a thing that would inhibit them. So, like, some of their picks and the strategies there, maybe it was just to enable what they wanted to do, not to limit their team, the enemy team, I mean. And I think that's what the data is ultimately going to show, too, that we saw a lot of different strategies for picking and banning. Like, why are you going to pick Roadhog in this meta, in this situation? I think it was only done once or twice. And, like, I remember the Wrecking Ball getting picked to, like, try to, like, reduce out the Winston play because they'd already picked Winston or something, right? But I think I saw Jake said this on the Uncoachable podcast too. Like, and it makes a lot of sense. I didn't catch this game, but there was a comp. This pick ban system gave us an opportunity to see a D.Va Mei composition. When would you ever see a D.Va Mei composition? That's wild to me to think about, and, like, that did happen, and it was competitive. So, super interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely like, one thing I wanted to point out would be maybe, like, one of the things that's, like, popping through my head, like, while we look at these pick and bans and stuff like that, is, like, Lucio and Kiriko. Sorry, I'm moving back. Lucio and Kiriko, right? There's too many opportunities in, like, this is, like, my most hated part about Overwatch is, like, there's, like, 3 seconds in the match. Damn, a Lucio got in this thing again. Like, this touching the
point,
meta, like, touching the point and stuff. Like, it makes sense, but it's too dramatic in how often it happens. Crazy Raccoons could be thinking about, like, certain those maps when they're banning it, on, like, banning Kiriko. Like, now, Kiriko is pretty, like, gonna touch map. Lucio's gonna touch map pretty quickly. Stuff like this, right? Like,
yeah,
it could be something along those lines. That, like, that's what they're banning.
I think it is
those weird moments where, we can definitely beat them, but this match will take, like, 10 minutes long, and we might not beat them in this certain area if we get to that stage or something along those lines. Right.
They're just trying to choose. they're trying to choose their defensive stands or their where would they take attacks, etc. And I think with the map idea, we'll see a little bit later what maps were played, which ones were not played, and I think a lot more is going to be said about what isn't being played. So actually looking at what heroes were not banned at all, you had 31 of the 40 heroes were banned at least once, but the heroes that weren't banned, Bastion, Hanzo, Junkrat, Moira, Reaper, Sojourn, Sombra, and Zenyatta. Do they not? It could be a combination. And Nick, give me your thoughts here. Is it they just didn't respect these hero picks that if you played this, you were throwing? Or was this just like left field?
That's solo. That's roll queue right there. Like it's like besides like Genji being included in that list. Like this is my experience with Overwatch. It's like, oh, that kid's on Hanzo. I think he should switch off Hanzo. He's not really good on this team. Like I'm playing Hanzo. Like it doesn't matter. Same thing with Junkrat. Like they're just not like they're like solo queue characters for me in my brain.
Well, that's the kind of question too. Like, these are weaker characters in this current meta, in this current patch cycle? Because like, yeah, you have a Sombra who might be more of a solo queue, but I think devs have said that she's got like a 45% win rate overall across the board, which you're talking about these caliber of teams, you can't really compare them to comp because comp's a shit show. Pardon my French here, but comp is a fucking shit show. People do not know how to play, and like it is a lot of fun, and like there are good players on it, but like the difference from comp to the Overwatch League or to these professionals like is astronomical. It's a chasm. So like, and I know Sojourn has gotten a nerf recently, and like, has it been so much where like they just don't think and feel she's even a threat? So like, we're not even gonna think about her. Hanzo is a little bit of that. Bastion, and like, they might be the niche characters.
Crazy. Right?
The Zen one's really crazy.
Zen's pretty, like, Zen is like not being banned. Like it's probably just like it probably leads more credence to what I was saying before with like just banning these movement support heroes so they can't get touches or weird positioning and stuff like that. Like don't ban Zen because he's like immobile, but he's a super solid like.
But I think the strength of Zenyatta here. Like the strength of Zenyatta, maybe it was a gentleman's agreement where we're in a kaiju meta where the tanks are basically just Godzilla and King Kong running around and you're enabling them. Anna's nade is incredible for that. Lucio just getting the run faster is incredible for that. But then you've got Zenyatta with the Discord orb, which would have a lot of value too. But so maybe like on a pro level, the Zenyatta value of just damage, extra damage, isn't as valuable as, Kiriko or Baptiste, who can just do it all. And, Lucio's utility of movement and positioning, Kiriko can like take a flank, heal her team still, do some headshot damage on the squishies around, and then TP back and not have a problem with it. She can get to the people, of course. Baptiste can just strengthen whatever you're holding because of lamp and stuff. So like maybe that's why Zenyatta wasn't picked, because he doesn't have that versatility. And maybe that is telling the devs, hey, like we've got healers with too much utility and versatility. Like they're just too strong across the board. They're that it Pokemon in Gen 1 that could just do everything. But
yeah, and Ash being up there in bans also says like, that sixth person on your team is really valuable. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you throw a Bob down and it's like 6v5, dog. Like we're in it.
I think that might be a good point with it, but I think the Ashe might also be the pressure with Sojourn not really being a threat, not being banned at all, and having Ashe being played. It might be because she's got more potency from her dynamite, from Bob, from her normal damage. I don't think we saw a lot of Mercy comps with this. But like you throw that damage boost into that, then it's game. You're going to be two-shotting people.
Good point. Mercy bans? Who did that?
It happened twice. We can look specifically.
It was probably look for it because it was probably the same person, and like it was. Probably the most disrespectful thing that happened in this whole entire tournament was that you banned Mercy against somebody. Like that is like, again, I'm just a gold plat player in Overwatch, but I do know that Mercy has to switch weapons in order to deal damage or heal. So like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Feels bad, man. I want to go into the maps being played, and then later let's take a look at who banned Roadhog and who banned Mercy. What kind of disrespect and salt, or just they were burning whatever they were cooking. Maybe it was that kind of strategy. But here we are with the maps played. And the map that was played the most, that was picked to play the most, was Midtown, with 38 instances of playing that map. New Queen Street only got 2 as a push, but, you know, kind of straightforward. I think the better information that we're going to aggregate from this is seeing what was played and then what wasn't played. Control maps were played the most, maybe because just opening, it's a better decider, but then they chose to go to the control maps 24% of the time, almost 25, 36 out of total 145. Only 4 out of the total 7 maps were picked, leaving Antarctic Peninsula, Nepal, Oasis, and Samoa not getting played at all. So interesting to see then Control. You had Busan, Ilios, Lijiang as being the ones that were picked definitively and played definitively. Moving into Escort, 22% of the times, you only had 3 out of the 8 total being picked. And like this one makes a lot of sense. Havana, Junkertown, Rialto, Route 66, and Watchpoint, Gibraltar not getting picked at all, not getting played at all. Nick, I know you've got experience with that Havana first point and that Rialto kind of first point and how much of a difficult spot it could be, especially in the Kaiju meta. What do you think here, man?
My thoughts personally is like, I don't know why the map isn't randomized first. I don't know why it's picked. Like, that seems weird.
I believe they used to have it where you always have to play a control. You always have to play a control because it's not going to end up in a tie. But that was I think Overwatch League.
I don't think that they're like too bad. Really, but I think it's probably it's less difficult now when we have like one less tank, right? To push past these like points. But it also feels like, you know, we haven't really figured out, the game hasn't like gotten into like its full stride, even though this is like, you know, the 13th year that Overwatch has been out. 8 years
in, yeah. 8 years in and 2 different development teams. Yet.
Yeah. And
that's a thing too. So sorry to jump in, but that's a thing too, where people are kind of like saying Runasapi is the newest map. It was played here. Runasapi was played 28 times, 3rd place, tied for 3rd place or 4th place technically. And for that being the newest map, it had a lot of options, and it's a push map. So maybe that's a game mode thing. Maybe that's a strategy thing or a meta thing. But like maybe that's also where they found their stride. The Colosseo changes, another push map, recently has felt really good. So maybe they're finally figuring it out. This new development team for Overwatch, and with a competitive focus and not a /PvE focus, they're figuring it out. But you know, it's a good point, like how it impacts, you know, competitive play, what they're looking at, these high level individuals, what they want to do. Because what really strikes me on and looking at the other maps I haven't played, Esperanza here, it's another push map. They played 3 out of the 4 push maps, but they did not play Esperanza. And I would think in a Winston meta where Winston is strong, where Diva is strong, Esperanza has historically been good for that comp, and like nobody picked it. So like
it's probably due to the fact that like the other heroes just benefit more from the other maps, right? Like it's not like your tank is important for choosing like your team comp, like your overall style for the most part, like how you're going to play it. But how beneficial your other heroes move through the map, because if we talk about Diva, we talk about the monkey, like they're getting through the map. It doesn't matter. They're going through the map. So like maybe it's just more about the fact that like when we're picking 3 out of 8 of the escort maps, it's really just about how your teammates and how your other heroes are moving through the map, because you don't really have to worry about Diva. You don't have to worry about Lucio. You don't have to worry about Winston. So it's probably more along the lines of like DPS that really, yeah, you know, which makes sense, right? Like if DPS are dictating really like what maps you're picking to play, that could be it. But again, you know, I say this.
It
all
could
the
also
time.
be Scrimbucks.
Flat player.
It could also be Scrimbucks. You know, they have a strategy for these maps, and like it takes time and effort and energy to figure out what works and what doesn't work. So they're not going to include every map. They're not going to have a full-blown strategy. They're going to maybe have an improvised one if they end up on Esperanza. It's just wild that no team has kind of felt that Esperanza was a good choice with a DPS setup, with a tank setup, with a matchup against the other team enemy setup. And that was one that really shocked me in this meta, in this situation. Going into maps played by teams, generally speaking, this is a basically saying how many games did each team play, right? So looking at this, ROC Esports played the least amount of maps, meaning they played the least amount of games, only 9. MKers with 11, but the most here, Toronto Ultra. Toronto Ultra played the most games, meaning they went closest to like a best of 7s, the most out of any teams. Our first place winner of the
here.
Our first place team, Crazy Raccoons, only had 23 maps. They were able to finish things quickly to their benefit, whereas Rock finished things quickly, literally a no-hitter, not getting a single win in the maps won. But the maps won part is really, again, saying, Toronto Ultra playing the most maps, winning 19 of the ones they played. Crazy Raccoons winning 21 of the 23 that they played. So really showing what happened here. I don't think ROC isn't even on here because the chart's not charting anything based on anything you didn't win. All right. So I'm going to bring us over into the full screen here as I switches back, Nick. We're going to take a look at just briefly who banned Roadhog and who banned
Mercy.
Mercy. But to do that, I'm going to swap into a different, there we go, ban. I'm going to go A to Z here. And I don't want to get you guys dizzy by scrolling through this super fast, but I want to bring us to that point. All right. And kind of interesting enough, we've got Crazy Raccoon as the team that banned Roadhog. And they did it against ROC Esports, and they did it against Gaming Gladiators.
Disrespect. It's just disrespect. It's absolutely just disrespect. I know. I've seen some disrespectful bans and picks in my day, and like that is some disrespect. I'm very sure there's a big part that's disrespect, but I know the APAC region also sometimes throws those in. Haji Kuru comp, I think we saw being played in the APAC, not contenders, the APAC just Overwatch Champion Series, I think stage 2. So we saw a comp that was viable there, and like maybe that's just a flare, but I don't think ROC Esports and Gaming Gladiators are teams that play the Roadhog. So like I think you're going with they're just banning something. They're banning something so that that the tank wouldn't be banned otherwise, maybe. Yeah, they were just like, we're gonna go Winston on these guys and watch us ban a tank so that they can't do anything. Look, they were afraid of Winston. Get wrecked. So like Crazy Raccoons probably had first ban on that one versus ROC. And just made it like easy. Right. And like, Crazy Raccoons took the win on both of them. But now look at the disrespect. Crazy Raccoons. Look at it. Against Rocky Sports, like there's so much fucking disrespect. Oh my god, dude. Like, please let the
We can't deny it now.
Like, what are you talking about, man? That's crazy. That's fried, bro. That's real fried. That's straight carbon coming out the fryer. That is crazy. That is
we had
so disrespect, bro.
We had Mercy being banned by Toronto Ultra and Crazy Raccoons on Circuit Royale and Midtown respectively against LGD OA and ROC Esports. So like Nick, I think you're right. I think the Crazy Raccoons just banning Mercy. They're banning like entry level characters, and maybe that's the insult here. Maybe the carbon footprint being left behind after this burn. Because, it was obvious ROC didn't stand a chance, and Crazy Raccoons was maybe giving them every opportunity they could, dude.
I knew it. I saw that, like, again, just a gold platinum player who doesn't really play the game too much. But, I saw that thing immediately. I was like, those are disrespectful bans. Like, it doesn't matter how strong Roadhog is. Like, that's absolute disrespect, bro. And, like, they banned Tracer and Echo. Look at Tracer and Echo on the ban list. They're relatively middle of the pack or high up in the pack.
They were kind of in the middle. DPS in general were, I think, in the middle. Echo had 11 times banned, and like it was all across the board. Echo's been a strong tank buster and flying character, can really pressure, has a high mobility for that like flying Tracer version. And then we go to Tracer, and I think because of the armor, Tracer's been a little bit weaker, so she's been more of a backline assassin. We take a look at Tracer here. Tracer was only banned 5-6 times, and across the board, it wasn't the same team banning her every single time or every single match. So super interesting to see that, where it's like DPS didn't matter.
Not that it didn't matter, right? Because like if we look at Crazy Raccoon's bans, like look at Crazy Raccoon's bans versus like everybody else.
I'm gonna switch this back real quick I'm gonna switch this back real quick, and so I don't give you guys whiplash changing it, and I'm gonna bring us into which team sort of A to Z. And okay, here we go. So here's Crazy Raccoons, and here's what they banned across the board, and what team, etc. So yeah, man.
Yes. So you look at it, they have two.
Actually, hold on a second. Go ahead. Sorry, hold on a second. I'm gonna bring this back here because I think I have a. Yes. Okay. Great. I thought
based on what we were seeing right there, right, we can easily see that like DPS is not the biggest ban in it. But they did ban DPS. And again, it's probably due to the fact that like the map that they're playing on, because map has to be decided first, right? Like,
yes. Yeah.
So like, it's probably due to the fact that the map that they're playing on decided the bans, and any time that they banned a tank was because they got first, tank ban probably. Like they got first ban.
Right. And like part of the DPS bans might be because they couldn't ban the thing they wanted to or something else, right? Like if you ban a tank, you can't ban a second tank. So they might have been stuck with going with the next big thing. And that was the interesting part about how surgical these comps would be. I would love to see more information about who got to ban first and how many times each role was banned first, second, or third. I think that would really illuminate a lot of information and strategy for us here. But like it was crazy to see how surgical you could be and how many different ways you would try to dismantle a comp. Like you take out that Echo and they can't run that specific dive anymore. And then you take out the Diva and they can't run that same dive anymore. And like, are they going to be strong enough to complete that dive, or would they have to pivot to something else? And then maybe the map is Shambali. So now they're going to want to run more like a Ram rush comp or something, Sigma poke comp. And like that's a lot of the strategy that we're looking at here. But specifically, we're looking at Crazy Raccoons. The character they banned the most was Kiriko and Ramatra. So they were very anti Ram Rush, which I think makes sense for some of the teams they were playing. It was just like, especially like a Toronto Ultra, an NA team that would like to play a rush style comp a bit more here and there. And then Kiriko, we saw it made a lot of sense because that Kiriko might be enabling the enemy team to sustain through their dive. So overall, I think it's pretty straightforward, how they were able to make these picks on these different teams and how much they picked sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. They were able to pick characters specifically and strategically, and they definitely did it to a huge benefit to themselves, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, Crazy Raccoons definitely did some like practice banning. Like no joke, like really, like probably it seems like they theory crafted and they had a good sense on the patch of like who's like after the the buff to tanks and stuff like that with the armor. It seems like they have like a good understanding of the patch, and that allowed them to be able to counter pick in the game while also shutting down other teams just based on data. That's the way it looks to me.
And like they were able to also get a good read on what other teams would play and why it would matter. Yeah. Right. Super interesting. And I do have a lot of information here I can run through. I think it's kind of best left. I would like to take a look at here what was banned against teams the most. If we look at Crazy Raccoons, just to kind of keep this thread going, Anna was banned against them 4 times. Lucio was banned against them 4 times. Like opposing teams picked those And then Winston was the next highest at 3. And like, it makes sense because it seemed like teams were trying to eliminate their ability to dive them in that Ana Lucio Winston comp, basically. So
Yeah,
they
same
probably,
before.
yeah, they probably
the
just
Danny-
swapped into like a Doomfist and a Diva situation. But yeah, I hear you on that. And like, I wanted to point that out because I think this is a big part of it.
Definitely, because like if they get first ban and they know you're gonna ban Winston on them, and they just go like, we'll just ban Diva, and then then they pick Winston, like
right. So then what does the other team do, right? If you ban Winston as Crazy Raccoons, you ban Diva as the Crazy Raccoons, I'm probably gonna ban like Lucio or Anna, right? So like that makes sense. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's take a look at Toronto Ultra here. And maybe even Team Falcons, because they're both right next to each other. So here we have 1 and 2. Let me freeze real quick the first row, and then let me freeze the first column. All right, so we can see that. Great. Now let's get back over to here, Toronto Ultra. All right, so yeah, Team Falcons, Toronto Ultra. Against Toronto Ultra, they banned Ana 4 times. Team Falcons, Ashe was banned 4 times. And that's probably because of a hero pick, I think. I think that's specifically a player that like would excel pretty well because Ashe is pretty good. I can't remember, is Proper on Team Falcons? I think he is. And that might be why, or, they have a hit scan guru probably where they don't want Ashe to be played on that. So they're looking to like remove the teeth from that person. And then clearly people didn't want Toronto Ultra to have Ana being played. And I think that was a thread we talked about last week where it's like you remove the backline from Toronto Ultra and they weren't able to do much. Again, Lucio, Ana, and then where's the Kiriko? There's the Kiriko. Kiriko only banned once against Toronto Ultra, but yeah, I think they were fine with that. Very interesting to see how it breaks down and what teams decided to do. Let me bring us into the last page here before we wrap up this, and we can. Okay, this is a much more in depth where you can see how many times Ashe was banned on each map as well. I was able to make a format table with that's expandable. It's a bit much for us to go into right here, right now, but if you like it, let us know in the comments, let us know on the VOD, let us know on our social media. Hit us up at the Esports Meta on all your favorite platforms, Twitter, Threads, Instagram, TikTok. You know where to find us. And let us know if you want to get a link to this document here. Nick, let's walk through this like part as I wrap up and transition us. What were your final thoughts on this, and like what would you like to see a bit more from these statistics?
So like one of the thoughts that I'm having right now is like maybe like the way the ban is structured might be a little heavy-handed towards like huge deltas when it comes to like player skill or team skill in general. That's where I would be pretty interested on it. But I also like the map. So like map and heroes that you pick have a drastic impact on like how the game is played overall. And so like, I think like that probably has something to do. Like that's probably potentially an area that people should like really target when it comes to evolving this ban system. Like it might be banning maps as well as like characters and stuff like that. But it's the data alone is like super interesting. Like my brain is like, I like numbers. So like my brain is like going like, all right, yeah, this is cool.
That might be interesting, right? Like I've said that this ban system, not even pick system, this ban system feels like a fighting game, pick and ban system, right? And like they do have a pick system where the loser picks the map, and that was played here. It'd be interesting to see if the winner gets to ban a map, the loser picks a map, or something of that sort. But it might be too much for Overwatch. Too much like you end up in the same uniform situation in exchange. Whereas like with fighting games, it might not matter as much. It might not be as big of a deal. But this hero ban system was definitely a big deal, and we saw a lot of variety. We saw a lot of things we didn't expect to see it, and I think it's a good first step. I'm not sure where you'd go from this. I think we've hit a pretty good bandwidth, and like how do you adjust that to like perfection next. And maybe that's something for somebody smarter than I or more involved on the coaching end of it or the organization part of it. But it'll be fun to see as we keep going.
Definitely. I do love the bans. I love the salt being thrown as well. That I can spot it on a spreadsheet is pretty ridiculous, to be honest. But no, like I really do love it, and I want to see how Overwatch as a whole like takes it. Like I didn't see too much like outcry of Overwatch players like saying anything about pick and ban, and like right now they might be more interested in like the argument of like bring 6v6 back or 5v5 staying. So like they might be a little distracted with the pick ban system, but
you know what's kind of you know what's kind of interesting with that too, when you talk about players or even like top level players, apparently Aaron Keller revealed that by region, the opinion different. There's differences in opinion by region, whereas like the APAC region is like enough is enough. Just pick one and like let's do it. So like they're already set on 5v5 and very focused on that, whereas NA is like kind of having this existential crisis about what should be best, and maybe that's a focus where it's like the pick ban system went over their heads for this competition, but they're more focused on 6v6. So maybe this will overtake that in the conversation. Maybe it'll be more applicable and solve some of these problems of comps and counterwatch swapping, but that only time will tell. And we'll be looking forward to it. So stay tuned and keep up with your thoughts and opinions. I got to move us into our last topic, Nick. We are running late, but we're running hard. We're sweating as well. And our final topic here is going to be about Shroud's new game, Spectre Divide. It's something that came out of the blue in the last week and a half, where apparently Shroud, the streamer, has been in development with a game developer, Mountainside, to develop his very own 3v3 tactical shooter. I don't know why I paused there. I was trying to give it dramatic effect, but 3v3 tactical shooter. But it's a 3v3 tactical shooter with a catch, and there's not much information on this on the website from what I could see and find. Maybe there is, and I haven't quite found it yet, but there is a little bit of video, so we'll take a look at that. And the big caveat with this, and straight from the horse's mouth, Spectre Divide is the genre-evolving competitive 3v3 tactical shooter driven by duality. Use duality control two bodies in real time, letting you defend two sites at once, cover your own cross, or even trade yourself. It's got a very Counter-Strike feel with a little bit flair of Valorant, it seems like. Tactical gunplay, arsenal of different characters. They do different things, but the big caveat here, and I'm going to bring us over into the Shroud video as we do the quick zoom up, as he explains what it is that it's a 3v3 match where you can throw a puck and it sends out a clone or a digital Spectre.
Okay, V to throw your puck,
Here we are.
throw your Spectre. X to
And then
swap.
you can swap between them.
And I mean that's
And
the
then
best
beyond
part.
that, you can throw the puck again and tell the Spectre, the non-playing character, where to go on the map. Shroud's also showing and saying here right now where you can in the buy phase, you can click the map and have that Spectre, the clone, go to a position instinctively. Like you click it and it'll go there as soon as the game starts. But beyond that, this looks very Counter-Strike, buy phases, strategy of games, strategy of weapons, and then plant the bomb, defuse the bomb sort of gameplay here. In the background, we'll have it kind of playing. But Nick, what are your thoughts on the aesthetic initially? What are your thoughts? Have you seen the game being played by some streamers? He has let some big names already in on it for like an alpha beta version test.
I've mostly watched the videos involving Shroud for the most part when he's like talked about it. Now seeing the Spectre does make more sense when he like said it. Like he did not explain it properly. Even that little paragraph doesn't really explain it properly. You're not controlling two characters. You're controlling one character at a time, and you can move two characters through the map like simultaneously. Is like really like the way that it works, because that's the part that like I was a little confused on. Just in general, but I love, like, first and foremost, I love the overall style. It is Counter-Strike mixed with one of my favorite shooters ever, 13, with the cell shading, like
the cell
cartoon
shading
graphics. I was I love the art style. Like the art style of it looks super clean. It fits for the game. The colors look great as far as like everything is concerned. You know, and like these are the things that like I've talked about with other other arena shooters, I guess, like just in general, that we've gone over. Like the neon colors don't look too crazy. You know, it does look
Right.
that looks a little Valorant, but
And this game has the color pops, but it's not as bold. It's not as like super neon like we've seen with like Valorant or even like Fragpunk, one of the other arena shooters we've covered over the past couple weeks. And it does have that more muted tone where it's realism, but it's also like not. It gives me some like Borderland vibes too, like especially the first one where it's not as like bombastic in the color shading and whatnot.
It just was confusing because
yeah, no, I definitely feel that with like the movement and stuff. It looks a little bit more. It feels very, very Borderlandsy with the movement of the characters and stuff like that. But it overall looks clean.
every time I play these guys, they always
I think you know, I'm hoping that there's more evolution to it besides like you control two characters, because I will tell you right now that, you know, there's other games that have like a similar style of controlling two characters, not shooters, but like they just don't survive. They're super cool and they're super fun to play. Like one of my favorite MOBAs is controlling two characters, but one at a time. And it did not do so well, but it's like super cool. And because this is Shroud, it'll probably
Yeah,
do
that's a
just fine, to
big.
be honest.
That's a big boon, and at the same time, he's going to be bringing a lot of his knowledge base as well as his networking skills to like bring people who are great at tactical shooters into this space to give good, honest feedback, good criticism, as well as spotlight what works and what makes it cool. I would hope. What's the game with the teleports that's like Halo? Is it Splitgate?
Yeah, Splitgate.
I would hope that this duality system that they talk about players start to figure out like a little bit like Splitgate. Like Splitgate's gimmick is very novel at first, but then becomes very cool because of the high ceiling. Players figure out how to create different angles by shooting portals through the ceiling, through the wall, creating different like, you know, cover zones and kill boxes, etc. needed. And like that might be what will eventually happen here. By the end of this video, and I think in a couple other videos, you start seeing that like the Spectre is being directed to carry the bomb as the other person, like you are playing as the other part of that duality is like covering it and like watching flanks and etc. So like even getting to high ground, they use the Spectre to like just go up to a level. So I think it might be at the beginning, and I'm really hoping at the end of the day, there's a lot more, like you're saying, in development to be like a Splitgate where they're able to just have player expression and skill just sort of pop through from this very specific niche and this very specific gimmick. And I do feel like gimmick is a harsh term, but I think that is the thing that makes them stand out. It's Shroud specifically and his knowledge base and experience. And then second, it's going to be that duality, that switching between your your playing characters. I think is the easiest way to put it. Your two PCs, your playing characters.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what I was saying with like how's it gonna evolve? Like this feature really can't be more than what it is, right? Like maybe you could add something to the dynamicness of the two characters, the Spectre and not being the Spectre. But other than that, like, what's the difference between this and like Valorant, right?
Right,
Like,
and like, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like, what's the difference between CS:GO and Valorant, right? It'd be like all the special moves. Like right now, you get there's less people on the map, and you get to control a second character to have, you know, different play style. Like, kind of cool. It's interesting.
Well, yeah, and like a Valorant, like what's your the other tactical games that are really big here? You're talking about Counter-Strike, and that's all about weapon buying when you buy it, and then team strategy, covering crosses, etc. But then Valorant offers the hero, and that's why this feels like a middle ground, because there are heroes. Like technically, one person starts with a smoke. I think one person starts with like a radar or a frag grenade. So you have that aspect, but it's not as, I don't want to call it belligerent, but like dramatic as Valorant can be with like the diversity of moves and the abilities there, and then the gunplay. This is very gunplay oriented with a little bit of flavor of the characters, it seems like. But then the big focus is on that duality specter of teleporting. How much of a skill ceiling is it? We yet to see really. How creative can people get with it? And do you really need that in a tactical shooter? Do you really need that much, I should say? Yes, this might be a cool object. It might make it really fun. It might make the variety of the game way bigger and better. Having 3v3 opens the map, has more space to cover and less people to cover it with. But then you have two, and then it becomes almost like sniper meta where it's like only when they're looking or not looking. So like it can make for some interesting thing, and maybe that variety is enough for a tactical shooter here. But you know, it's only just been announced recently, and we'll see how that goes. Final thoughts as we watch this gameplay, and maybe one wish list thing you definitely want to spotlight if Shroud was watching this, what you'd like to see?
No battle pass until the game's released. Like that's it. That's what I want. No battle pass until the game is released. It's a hard target to hit. I understand, but that's it. But other than that, like the game is clean. It's super clean. Like the way it looks, the way the characters seemingly feel, even though like I haven't played it, but just like the overall like look and the movement of the characters looks smooth. The color, as I said before, the color of the art looks great. It's, it might not be for me, but it might be a 10 out of 10 game, in the long run, once we get into its like full launch feature.
Right. Getting a lot of people hands on it, and a lot to offer, potentially a lot to offer. So I think you hit the nail on the head here. It's a clean UI. They've got a good idea, a good design. Tactical shooter is a tactical shooter, and you have to stay true to it. And it looks like they are staying true to that. And then maybe it just comes down to how they balance. But like you'd think that having this much knowledge and experience in it would benefit that part of it. So I think this one, out of all the arena shooters we've reviewed, this looks like it's faring the best, and it might hit that niche so hard, whereas like a Marvel Rivals might hit the fun factor for the most amount of people because it just like overwhelmingly seems like an amusement park. Whereas this one is like, yeah, I want to play a tactical shooter, and this is like really tactical shootery, like kind of good.
Yeah, I will say one thing is like this, the maps don't. I don't want to say like this is gonna sound off and weird. Like the map isn't right, and the reason why I say this is because like it feels very flat, like the map overall, like even
one-dimensional flat,
yeah, we're on the base floor, even with like that window there and stuff like that. I think like this might be more of a like, how do I put it, like American Gladiators kind of like openness. Like you might need to have a little bit more openness to like the map where you can go up like, slopes, hide on slopes and stuff like that. I don't know. That's my thought. Like I think it's a little bit too like small and flat for the maps. That's my final thought, Billy.
All right, your final thought, and I guess we'll sort of leave it there with this mega episode of the Esports Meta. We were tripping over our feet in the beginning, but we made it through to the finish line. I think it's not quite a gold medal performance, Nick, but we definitely got silver or bronze. We're definitely medaling on this one. How about you guys? What did you think? How did you think we did? What do you think of the topics we were talking about today? There was a lot, from snap tapping to Overwatch ban percentages, and now here, Shroud's game. Are you hyped for it? I think we are. And that's big praise from us because we're usually trashing games. They're just looking for that battle pass money, that meme money. But anyway, tell us what you think. Let us know. This is a final call to action before we set out. You can find us here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Or, check us out on our social media if that's more your vibe. Nick, any final words before we see you again next Tuesday?
Hit me in my DM, start an argument with me. That's okay.
All right, I'm going to be the first one to take you up on that offer, though.
That's fine. I welcome
it. All right, and welcome you guys to the final part of the show. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate being here. Again, check us out on our social medias. Check us out again here on Twitch or YouTube Live or Facebook, wherever you're watching us every Tuesday as we film the podcast live. We also do some extra live streaming on Twitch. Thanks for joining us. This has been the Esports Meta, and we will see you next time. I got to make sure we're good. Okay, we'll see you next time.